All right, we are live on Facebook. Who is our MC this morning?
I am.
Yay! All right,
Welcome,
Jen.
everybody. Good morning. It's nice to see everybody Wednesday morning, just like we do every week at 9 a.m. for 1 Million Cups. If you are new to 1 Million Cups, I just want to give a little bit of background about the organization. You can go to the next slide. Oops. So if you are able to, please check in on the 1 Million Cups app. If you are not able to, don't worry. We will keep track of attendance after the meeting. What I would say is that for 1 Million Cups, it's part of the Kauffman Foundation, which is a national organization. There's over 160 chapters that are all across the country that meet Wednesday, 9 a.m. in their respective markets. So we're excited to have everybody here to experience it. We kick off with a few minutes of background as we are now, and then we'll have our presenters share their business, their challenge question, and we'll provide feedback. So we can go to the next slide.
Can you guys see something? I've got a blank screen.
I see.
Just the slides, but not the content.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's weird.
Okay. No,
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
your picture's not there.
Right, hold on. I'm gonna take it out of here for 1 second. And make
No
sure.
problem.
Just put me on a stop share for a sec.
The mission of 1 Million Cups is all about removing barriers to entrepreneurship. So we have business owners, whether it's a startup idea through launching your business through the first few years of your business, come each week, not only to provide feedback, but also to apply to present. And so when they apply to present, they bring a challenge question, which is what we will answer and give feedback on. So it's a great organization. I highly encourage you to follow us online. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. So please subscribe to our channels if you have not already. And as we think about 1 Million Cups and ways you can engage, you can subscribe through the app. That will put you on our email list. You can also just engage via social media as well. This is on Facebook Live. So another thing you can do is go to Facebook Live at 1 Million Cups /Fairfax. You can register for our next meeting. You can also go on Facebook and share the fact that we're live. So again, welcome everybody. It's nice to see you. In just a minute, we'll transition over to the presenter today, which is very exciting. And again, if you would like to apply, you can go to 1millioncups.com /Fairfax. We love to have presenters. All of our organizers, if you can wave to the camera for folks in the room. We have several organizers, Danelle Johns, Rosemary Savino, myself, Jen Dalton, John Rutenberg, and we're all here to support you through the application process and through presentations. So we don't just throw you to the wolves. We also have brand ambassadors. I'm going to go around the Zoom room and ask them each to introduce themselves. I'll start with John Foster, all the way, I think, from the West Coast. Good morning. Just make sure you're unmuted and introduce yourself.
Good morning, Jen and everybody. Yes, I am on the West Coast. So it's an early morning, as it is every Wednesday. It has been for a while, but it is always great to be here. It is a phenomenal way to pick up the middle of the week. And so it's a great opportunity to meet some great people, learn some things, and have an opportunity to share information and knowledge. So great to be here.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you. Reggie Holmes, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Reggie Holmes with Enthuse Creative, brand strategy and design. Really excited to be able to be here and be a brand ambassador for 1 Million Cups. And I'm looking forward to our presentation today. Thanks.
Thanks, Reggie. And Tony Barnett, who has been an organizer for ages. I don't know if we can convince him to be an organizer because he's got a lot going on, but we've promoted him to brand ambassador. So Tony, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Yes, everybody. Hi, Tony Barnett. I apologize for the absence over the past number of months. Being shifted over, from day one when we first met for the very first time on Valentine's Day 4 years ago. I've now shifted into an ambassador role where I will probably be here in and out, but today happy to be joining with you.
We are very fortunate to have Tony. Thank you. You've been a huge champion and a big part of our success. So thanks for being here as ambassador. If you're interested in being an organizer, we do need more support. You can try it out and just join us. It's a 30-minute catch up every week where we plan what's happening for the week. And if you want to be an ambassador and just spread the news on social media, please let us know. We'd love to have you here. As far as our sponsors, I would love for, I think, Leslie to, as our, nope, not Leslie, just kidding. Fairfax Veg Fest. If
Yep,
you
that's
would
me.
introduce yourself.
Yes, Jen, it's me one
How
more
could I
time.
be surprised that it's you, John? This muscle, this Veg Fest, please go ahead.
Oh yeah, the coffee sponsor. So I hope everybody's having their organic coffee this morning. It's really two organizations. It's Green for Organic Cafe in Herndon. And we are sponsoring the Fairfax Veg Fest, which is on April 24th from 10 to 5, a family event. It's all about education, food, sustainability. And it is in Herndon, Virginia, at the Northwest Federal Credit Union parking lot. Love to have everybody attend and, bring family and friends. And it is a thrill to be the coffee sponsor. So enjoy your coffee. And again, great to be here.
John, if you could drop a link in chat for that. That sounds
Yes,
like a
I will
great event.
absolutely do that.
Now, I don't feel bad that I was confused because it's a blended
It is a,
group of
yes.
companies and an amazing event. So thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
We do love sharing your events, so please drop them in chat for attendees. We'd love to promote them and share them as well. Office Evolution is our other coffee sponsor. They have a co-working space in Tyson's. It's a fantastic group. John Yu runs that. If anybody's interested in learning more about the co-working space, please reach out to him. I'm pretty sure we all know how Zoom rooms work by now, since we've been in them for almost decades. But just to make sure, please make sure you have yourself on mute. And when we get to the presentation, our speaker, of course, will unmute, present, and we'll have a moderator today who will take questions and answers and tee them up. Just make sure you raise your hand through Zoom underneath reactions, or you can drop your question in chat. We'll keep an eye on that. You also can, and I would encourage you to, drop your ideas in chat as well. We do save the chat and share that with the presenter. I am from the South, so I do like grits. I know that's not our topic today, but pride and grit is. So Jen, if I could hand it over to you and you could introduce yourself and kick off your presentation, that would be fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Happy to be spending Wednesday morning with you all. So I am Jen Pasquale, the founder of Pride and Grit. And my challenge question that we'll come back to today is, I would love to get your perspective on whether there's a way for me to combine the Pride and Grit efforts that I have underway with my B2B efforts for coaching and put it all under one clean umbrella. So I want to tell you a little bit about Pride and Grit. So if we could go forward a slide. So the organization that I run, Pride and Grit, the main mission that we have is to support seasoned military spouses. So the problem that we're solving for them is we're really helping address the fact that as a seasoned military spouse, often we are kind of foregoing our career trajectories or our personal dreams to support the military, to support our service member, and to move around the country. And with that sometimes comes kind of an identity loss. And so we're trying to help solve that for those individuals and help them kind of refocus and recenter on who they are and what they want. We do that through our website, through coaching, and through our events. If we can go forward. So the history of Pride and Grit is about 3.5 years long. We started out really as just a blog. Originally started because I had seen a kind of a challenge in the military spouse community, particularly among my peers, where some of the older spouses were not necessarily transparent and honest about where they were. They felt a pressure to kind of have it all figured out and to always be strong. And there wasn't a lot of space for them to for it to be hard and for them to feel that cumulative effect of service. And so I wanted to change the conversation and create space for that. So we did that for about 1.5 years. And then we launched our first ever seasoned military spouse retreat, which was focused on helping those who are looking at transition and figuring out what that means for themselves and their families. Now we are this year focused on the retreat again. We're going to do another retreat this year that is going to focus more on that identity piece and really drill into it a lot further. But we've also added coaching because I've become a Gallup Clifton Strengths coach. And so we're integrating that into our offerings. in 2023 or earlier, if possible, one of the things I'm looking at is really just finding some profitability with the efforts that we're trying to put forward. If we can go forward a slide. So who are the folks that we're serving? So currently our audience is seasoned military spouses, which I'll define in just a second. But within that, there's a subset of the transitioning spouses. So those are the spouses of transitioning and largely retiring service members. We do have an audience beyond that season category, but we're really focusing on the challenges for that season group because they tend to be a bit nuanced. They have things like being empty nesters, having midlife, and then also having this transition out of service into civilian life. If we can go forward, I'll define this audience for you a little, which is in numbers, roughly 267,000, give or take, that are in this pocket. So it's not a huge group, but it is a group that continues to have people flow in and flow out. So that is somewhat of a steady state for it. In general, these are spouses of active duty, senior, non-commissioned, and field grade officers, but we've also seen veteran spouses come into our community because they didn't have anything when they transitioned. If we can go forward again. So from a competitive standpoint, we are really the only community that is focusing on this specific pocket. There are other veteran service organizations that support spouses. A lot of those programs are around entrepreneurship or around employment, not so much around identity and around kind of the personal journey of going through military life and kind of coming out the other side of it and figuring out what's next for you. I am myself a almost 16-year seasoned military spouse. So I've been walking this path alongside my husband for a long time with my own pivots and kind of my own dreams that got, shelved a bit while we, moved around the world. The other advantage that I think we have is the Clifton Strengths model and the Clifton Strengths assessment. To me, it's the perfect tool to help with identity and give spouses language. And the fact that I'm certified allows me to bring that into the community. If we can go forward. From a revenue standpoint, what we're currently doing is generating revenue through our ticket sales, through individual paid coaching, and then also through our corporate sponsors. So we have been very blessed with a handful of corporate sponsors for both last year's retreat and this year's retreat. We're looking at some other options that would allow us to bring in some additional revenue, either in new sponsors or in new offerings that we haven't yet included as part of this community. If we'll go forward. So in order to answer the challenge question, I want to give you a little bit of sense of where I am. So Pride and Grit is kind of what I'm doing on the left that I've just walked through. What I'm doing on the right is I'm also using that Gallup certification to do individual coaching for civilians and to do coaching for corporations. So I have corporate clients that I'm working with and helping them implement a strengths-based culture within their organization. If we can go forward. So my question is, my challenge is that I continue to feel incredibly fragmented in my brand and how I'm speaking about what I do. And I'm trying to find a way to cleanly bring all of this under one umbrella that would make sense to my audience and make things easier for me. And that is my time.
Thank you very much for that fantastic presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Rosemary to moderate. Just a reminder, please use the reactions to raise your hand and ask questions. And you can also drop your thoughts in chat. Rosemary, take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Well, thank you, Jen Pasquale, first for your service and for supporting your husband in his service. And almost as importantly today, for coming here and sharing your story with us. Appreciate it. I know we've got a lot of folks who are interested in asking you questions. I would say, as Melinda has done, please put your hand up in reactions or IRL. I can see you if you put your hand up. Also, if an idea strikes you and you want to put it in chat, I'll call on you as we go through to speak to Jen about that question as well. So let's get the party started. Melinda, you had a question for Jen Pasquale.
Excellent presentation, Jen. I had one thought, and it's a question, and then the idea. Do you meet live with everybody at this point? Or are you just doing most of this online? And where my big idea is that you start a networking group for your organization and put it on the bases. I have a lot of garden club friends that are spouses of military, and they have an active group, and the garden club is actually a subgroup of the overall group. And it might be a way to get you exposure. The other thing too is you could do this around the country really easily, and you could be a guest speaker, or you can appear on a Zoom call or something. I mean, there are a lot of ways to get yourself in front of everybody. I definitely think it's an overall umbrella of everything. But if you added that networking group where people meet, and then you maybe do coach sessions or other types of things, give things away like that, that might be a way to merge the two together.
Yeah, thank you, Melinda. I appreciate those ideas. To answer the question that you had asked, we initially were virtual. This year, we are doing a hybrid model for our retreat. So we have about half our attendees that are going to be in person in DC, and the other half that will be attending virtually. It's sort of like a watch party style. So we'll see how that goes, but it gives us a chance to be in person. But I love some of the other suggestions you gave. So thank you for those.
Thank you, Melinda. Don't forget to put your ideas in the chat. And then I have a passel of Jens coming up for the other Jen. First Jen Dalton, then Jennifer Rose, and then Tony Barnett, and then Ken after that.
Jen, just a quick clarifying question. For your corporate clients, going back to your challenge question, are you working mainly with companies who have hired veterans, or is it simply organizations that need Clifton Strengths training and value your perspective and your messaging?
Sorry, Jen, I think my audio cut out a bit when you said companies of.
Well, there are a lot of companies who hire veterans and
Oh,
military.
veteran, okay.
So I was just curious if you're partnering with companies who hire a lot of veterans and military as a way to help transition them in, or is it more companies that love the pride and grit message, love Clifton Strengths, and also hire you?
So yeah, thank you for that. It is not, I'm not in that space yet. The corporate space I'm in is actually a global pharma company that I'm working with. I didn't mention this, but I have 20 years of training and development background, most of that in pharma. So I had an opportunity with a corporate client to work through Strengths with them, but they have no military affiliation whatsoever.
So I think from a messaging standpoint, as you're starting up, you're delivering the services that you're going to deliver no matter what, right? Which is really important. So I love that you have the pharma company as a building case study and relationship. I think as you move forward, you could message more targeted to companies who have a lot of military individuals that they're hiring, that this is a very unique perspective that you bring that you can help coach on. And if other companies come to you, you can always say yes. But I do think having that niche messaging could be helpful, especially if I think you're in the DC market. Is that correct? Or we're okay. So whether it's, there's plenty of firms here who do that. And so I would try to tie in your messaging that way and make it niche from that standpoint.
Yeah, thank you. I had not even thought of that connection. So that actually is really helpful. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jennifer Dalton. Jennifer Rose.
All right. Great presentation, Jen. Love what you're doing. All my good friends on here know that I would be remiss if I did not ask you if you have reached out to or have engaged with any of your local chambers of commerce. I happen to run one of the many chambers of commerce in Northern Virginia, chambers of commerce. Oh boy, not enough coffee today in Northern Virginia, but many
one
of
the very best.
Oh, why, thank you, Ken. I am the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. But many of us have committees that are focused on veterans issues. Many of us encourage our members to provide programming. It'd be a great opportunity for you to pilot some things, try some things out, reach the target audience you're trying to. Our Veterans Committee kicked off in 2019, and sadly, because of COVID, we've done no programming until next month, finally. But that's a great place for you to look at. And there are literally 26 chambers of commerce in Northern Virginia. Doesn't count DC, doesn't count Maryland. You have plenty of opportunities to really poke around and see what they're offering and how you can fit in with that.
No, thank you, Jennifer, for that. I have not pursued that sort of explicitly. I am a military spouse certified business through the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce, that extension. So I have pursued that. So that's my only connection so far, but I love the idea of looking at that as a place to have these conversations. So thank you.
I'm happy to have a conversation with you offline to help you understand the lay of the land.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome insights, Jennifer Rose, as always. Thank you. Up next is Tony Barnett, then Ken Portnoy, Leslie R. Killian, and Reggie Holmes. Take it away, Tony. Unmute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Again, wonderful presentation. Loved how concise it was. My suggestion or question is, have you started doing podcasts or blogs on a regular basis with some of the people who are in your program who you were training with? Reason why I ask is this: I have a friend of mine who is doing something very similar to yours as far as coaching, but she's doing a very unique segment in coaching where what she's doing is she is coaching cake makers and cake decorators nationally. And what she's doing is she's doing program management, but also doing business coaching and how to launch their own businesses. And what she's really found a neat niche with it is that she does a weekly podcast, or I should say happy hour, with them all. And what they do is they get together, and she's using it as her marketing tool to other businesses around the country. And she's starting to get a nice following. And what she does is she just charges a membership fee. And for the membership fee, you get the link. It's not a very high fee, but what she's able to do is leverage that to cross over into other businesses. I'm having trouble hearing you. So that's, it might be something if you haven't already done it yet. Have you thought about starting something like that?
Thank you, Tony. No, the only thing I've thought of so far is I'm doing in the midst of creating a mini podcast for as a gift to our next set of attendees for the retreat that is around transition stories. But it's not necessarily strengths-based per se. So it's a little bit different than what you're talking about, but that's as far as I've thought about anything in that kind of genre.
Because people follow that. It's becoming a larger and larger thing. And even just putting it out for short-term, doing case studies, just putting out a case study or two or a few, like on a weekly basis, that would actually probably help spread the word for you. And you'd get both the corporate side, but also the spouse's side. The military.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Ken Portnoy, you're up.
Hi, Jen. I really admire your work. I have a daughter who is a military spouse, and so she's going to need your help somewhere down the road. What I'm curious about is in that slide where you showed us all of the different pieces that you're working on, are they all under a profitable or under a profit umbrella, or is part of that nonprofit?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. So none of them are currently nonprofit. I have kind of pursued the due diligence on that a couple of times and keep coming back to not going that route. But yeah, so currently none of them are under a nonprofit.
Here's my concern is that if you brand all of that activity under a single umbrella, the retreats look like a marketing front end. And it also complicates the sponsorships in some ways, as I understand it. And so it's not clear to me that your strategy to bring everything under the same umbrella, which may be very good for branding purposes and for your marketing as a coach and for your promotion, it may seem attractive, I have some concerns about whether that's really the right direction to go. And I'm the contrarian of the group. I'm also the profit guy. So I would want to see the profit-making aspects of your business really slam putting money in your pocket. But the nonprofit side, where you're providing services, I think veteran service organizations, nonprofits, for-profits, do you know the answer to that? Can you be a for-profit veteran service organization?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Essentially that is what I am now. And some sponsors care, some sponsors don't. All the sponsors
Gotcha.
I currently have didn't care. But to your point, there is definitely a barrier to some funding if you're not a nonprofit, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm wrong a lot. So take what I say with a grain of salt.
No, I appreciate it because honestly, I've continued to think about it and just continue to come back to not, but it, it doesn't go away.
Thank you, Ken. Next up, we have Leslie, then Reggie, and then Malika. And then I actually have a question for you, Jen. So take it away, Leslie.
Hi, Jen. I think I'm off video. I love your message. I am also a military spouse. My husband's Army Reserve. We're getting out in about 15 months. He's retiring. But I am also in the identity space, working with moms, I want to get into the military community as well, because I know there's a lot to be done there. So less of a question, but a partnership idea. If you need a photographer to help these women find their identities through photographs, I'd love to help you with that. So
Thank
great
you,
job.
Leslie. I would love, yeah, I'd love to chat about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie, and your +1. It's good to hear him. Go ahead, Reggie.
Yes, great presentation. I was just going to say, I feel like there's some synergy between, what you do with the spouses, and then being able to go into an organization and say, I've built this community. And I feel like that's really one of the most valuable things to an organization is what you've done on the community building side. On your website, it speaks about the military spouses. We seek our own voice in a life over which we have very little control. And I feel like there are people in companies that are not like the top leadership, but they have leadership qualities, and they need to be developed, right? They need someone who can help them figure out their unique contribution, and feel confident and have a place to be able to sort of rise up into that next level of leadership. And so I feel like some type of offering where you're bringing your experience that you've built, with the Pride and Grit community to corporations that have a ton of leaders who aren't leaders yet. And for whatever reason, they haven't risen to those levels, but they need someone who can help them assess their strengths, become confident in them and start to use them on a bigger level. So I feel like if you kind of package the offering maybe that way, that's a way to sort of tie the two together, and create more synergy there. So.
Yeah, thank you, Reggie. I really appreciate that. I had not thought of that. So I appreciate you pointing that piece out and that connection.
Awesome. Thank you, Reggie. Always insightful. Malika.
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. I actually was watching on Facebook and then I jumped into Zoom. So great presentation. I am a Navy wife and Army mom. So thank you for your service. I love everything that you were talking about. I also used to be the advisor for a not-for-profit Veterans Transition Center. And so some of the things that you were talking about, I do have one, I guess it's more of a comment. I know that your challenge question is about B2B, but I was wondering if you thought about B2G as well in terms of working with the actual military. So Fort Belvoir has transition center. They have meetings every Wednesday. They're always working on their personnel. So all of their out processing folks, service members, they have like packets and things that they're telling them about what to do next. And so I know Fort Belvoir does it, but I'm sure all the other bases do as well. So I was just wondering if you thought about B2G, because perhaps you could get a contract in the government space to provide out processing services.
Thank you for that question. I haven't thought of it in the way that you just mentioned it. I have thought about the government piece. I know that Clifton Strengths is actually quite heavily used in several pockets within sort of DoD. I haven't quite kind of had the time to figure out what that might look like for me, but I appreciate that nudge because that's a little different angle than I thought of.
Yeah, and also I absolutely love Clifton Strengths as well. So It's fantastic. And for the military, I think it's very important because it does have that individual piece, whereas that you're used to teaching or leading from a leadership's perspective that's across a bunch of folks. And I love Clifton Strengths because it teaches you how to deal with individuals. So thank you again. That was a great presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Malika. And thank you for your service and support of our military serving people. So I'm going to step in and ask some questions, make a recommendation. Then it looks like Ken has another question. I would also like to remind everyone that you can virtually put up your hand through reactions, put it up for real, I can see you, or put something in the chat. So Jen Pasquale, great presentation. Thank you very much. I want to take a step back though, and specifically address your challenge question, because I've done this now 3 companies running. So it sounds to me, and this is sort of a follow-on to Ken's earlier thought process. It sounds to me like you're actually talking to 2 different target customer audiences. You have your B2B coaching clients, and then you have your, whether they're transitioning or thinking of transitioning or working through a post-transition military spouses. But in both cases, what I would recommend is that you take a step back and say, what is the solution I'm providing to both of these groups, without saying for this group I'm doing X and for this group I'm doing Y. And I'll give you an example. So what I currently do is we work to create communities, and the communities we're creating are different communities focused on different customer segments. So what you're doing is creating capability for different segments. So if you want to bring all that messaging back to a single clean message, then a little bit of work through, and Jen Dalton's a great person to talk to this about because it's all about branding, is really what is the big why of what you're doing, and then the next step is how you communicate that to your different target markets. And you may find additional markets, or you may find that your big why is easy to communicate in the same wording to both of your target markets. I think not, given where you are currently, but I think there's something you do, right? Whether it's helping people redefine their big why, or helping you discover your true self, or helping you move to the next adventure, whatever that big why is, just coming to that in conjunction with the people you're helping. And then you can target more on the people you're helping. I'll put it in the chat, but I'm just thinking back to your question, taking a step back and looking at it in total.
No, I appreciate that advice, Rosemary. I think that it's always good to make sure you see the whole picture. So I will, I'll give that some thought and definitely look at it from that angle.
Yeah, awesome. So next up is Ken Portnoy again, and then Melinda again, and then Tony again. I love the multiple questionnaires.
So, Jen, I want to ask the small why, not the big why. And I don't anticipate that you'll be able to answer it here. And we usually tell people, don't worry about answering, just say yes. And this is a rhetorical thought question. Why do you want to bring all of these efforts under one umbrella? What are you hoping to accomplish by bringing them under one umbrella, aside from, some of the obvious stuff, which is, well, it'll be clean, it'll be cleaner. But what's really driving the consolidation? And you don't need to answer it now, but I'll put it into the chat so you can ponder it down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. I mean, I can answer it if you're interested.
I'm interested, but sometimes we don't take long answers so you can get more questions.
Yep, no, that's fine. That's fine. We can move on, but I appreciate you kind of prodding me in that direction for sure.
Thank you, Ken. Melinda, you're up.
Started thinking about, I already assumed that this is something you should do. So my thought process is, what can you do to grow both areas at the same time to promote each area? Because I think your audience becomes broader and you have an opportunity to get somebody for some things and other people for other things, and they know people. And one of my initial ideas, if you go to the networking idea, is to create an arm of that group, which is like a welcome wagon for all the new spouses and new people arrive on base, inviting them to the get together, maybe even put a mentoring program together with a big sister or a big brother that can help them. There's a whole bunch of things you can do strategically to really get everybody involved, and it include a coaching session. You could put a menu of things together that can be part of a package. Some of it, a lot of it may be free, and then there may be things you may want to start writing some books so that becomes something for everybody to use when they're new and they're bouncing around. It's a great present during the holidays to give somebody. I see it all fitting together. So I'm looking at how do you promote it as one big umbrella, but specifically reaching the different segments where you would find most of those people in those segments.
Yep. Thank you, Melinda. I appreciate all those there are a lot of little ideas in there, and I appreciate all of them. Thank you.
And they're in the text chat.
Appreciate it.
Great, thanks. Tony Barnett, you're up.
Okay, I wanted to make a slight modification. When I spoke earlier about blogs, I'd seen on your website you do blogs and do podcasts, and that's great. What I meant was to do more of a community thing where you pull in a lot of your members and a lot of the past clients, where you sit there and have a group discussion on a weekly basis. And that helps draw others, because as you see here in this, we have a group discussion going on, and in a community that helps build a reinforcement, but also helps build connections between other people. I don't know if you've already been doing that, but that's something that really is a unique dynamic. And since both, the military spouses have a unique sisterhood, so to speak, it works with that. Plus, another suggestion or question, I saw you have some partnerships, but are you partnering or have you reached out to the organizations that help the military the veterans after they've gotten out? Because there are a lot of organizations out there that help the actual veteran, the person who's now out, but there's not a lot that they partner with as far as helping the spouses. So maybe having it layered in, it's like, hey, we're helping him or her, and then here's the spouse that you can also help with, and that's part of the organization. Have you been doing a lot of that?
Yep. No, thanks for the clarification, Ken. And no, to answer your question, I have one partner that's kind of in that space, but not a whole lot of effort there yet.
Okay, that might be a good channel for you, because that way they're business owners in most cases that are running or operating a charity to help the veterans. And that could help you with the corporate development as well, because you're opening up those connections.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Tony. John Norse, you're up.
Hey, good morning, Jen. Great presentation. Obviously love what you're doing. I love the way you're reacting, because you understand that this is a journey, right? We evolve. So where we start often isn't where we finish. But I have a question. So other than your, I'm on your website, the event you put together where everybody gets together, are there any other times during the year that any of your people would get together on a smaller basis?
Thanks, John. So currently, no. Unfortunately, I've moved this business the last 3 summers, so it's been hard to kind of keep traction. My intent is to do that in 2022, is to have something that is a follow-on and continue to cultivate that community.
Well, what if you use the model that a lot of, like, Pampered Chef is one of the one, I mean, I don't even know if they're still in business, but Mary Kay, where you have like an ambassador, or someone at the base is an extension of you that you train and certify, or somehow make, a point person. So you're the chief and you have all these Indians running around that are, again, delivering your message. And obviously it takes the load off you. It allows them to be in the community, literally making friends and talking about this, opportunity for that. I don't know. It's just a way to potentially take some of the burden off of you of workload, but also grow your business, obviously.
Yep. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Dalton.
Jen, I was just looking at your website. I think there's an opportunity to clarify the value proposition. So if what you do is help people define their identity through Clifton strengths, become more confident in who they are, which impacts their relationships and their success, whether it's at home or at work. And you do that in 3 ways. You do that through your community, your spouse community, which you have really prominently featured on the website, which is fantastic. You do that through corporate partners who value and want to invest in their military hires and beyond, because let's face it, what you provide is helpful for anybody. But I think sticking to your niche is important. And you also do individual coaching. But I think those 3 buckets are missing. So if I wanted to hire you to speak, I don't know where to go on your website. So if that's something you want to do, I would definitely consider having, what are your corporate or organization programs, whether it's with the chamber or the company. You have your online community and you have your individual coaching. I do think they can all fall under one umbrella. And I also think there needs to be a little crisper value proposition. But your story is a part of that, as are the stories of the people you help. So happy to brainstorm offline, but I definitely think you're on the right path. And that's a great challenge question today.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. I appreciate all of that. I am in the midst of a redo, so it's coming, but I love what you're saying and I'd love to talk more about it.
Great. Thank you, Jen Dalton. Jen Pasquale, we had a comment, a suggestion from John Foster. If you want to go ahead, John, and speak to Jen about that. And then after that, we've got another question from Melinda.
I will. Hey, Jen, great presentation, and certainly love what you're doing. My stepfather was retired military, and then I've also had the opportunity to work with some of the retired military through Career Network. So I'm involved in a number of the career network or career transition ministries in the Washington, D.C. area. And so just one of the things I put in there, I actually put a connection in the text for you from 1 Million Cups. And that's in there. And then just as a thought, a lot of the career ministries around the country do, have a focus on military. And so, and that's both, really focusing from a military transition from military into civilian life into next career. And certainly what you're doing fits into both the military as well as the other people in that group. But you just throw it out there as a thought for you as another avenue.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Melinda, you're up. And then I have another comment for you, Jen.
One of the things I thought about is creating a survey. And Danell is the king of surveys. He really is. I mean, that was one of the things that he did when I first got to know him, to help people in an HR sense of where they are and where they're growing and all the other things. And I think if you had you might have a couple of different types of surveys that you can use to evaluate where everybody is different, but where they might be in their transition. They might be at the very beginning of it. They might be at a later stage of it, but to help plot a course. And obviously the course changes, it evolves, but it might be a really good starting point too. And again, bringing it back to the networking group, I think that's just a really organic way to get in front of the community, have a regular time when you're speaking. I would also do it on Zoom at the same time and have the videos so that you can start getting a lot of videos of you talking in front of groups and being able to put it up online, and getting a video. If you don't have a YouTube channel yet, getting a YouTube channel, doing as much as you can. That's, Instagram, YouTube. People like to see pictures. I don't know if Facebook is really good, because I know that my husband wouldn't get on any social media for the longest time. He's only on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn groups might be another option as well. Just looking at the overall picture, and I'd be happy to just help you with your networking and point you in different directions and talk about things. I've started a lot of networking groups over the years, and I still do that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melinda. I love data, so I appreciate all of that. That's great.
And talk to Danell about that. I think it's a perfect fit for you guys to work together on a really important project.
Thanks, Melinda. So, Jen, I've been thinking a lot about the markets that you serve, and have you asked them to help you, or I'll put it a different way. This is sort of a spin on the ICAP approach. when you speak to your clients, and I know that you're helping them through, but do you go back and ask them for feedback so that you can kind of take back from them? You know, we call them golden threads. It's like if you and I work together and at the end of our interaction, I say, man, Jen, this was so awesome. It really helped me to find my zone of genius. And 4 people tell you, you helped me find my zone of genius. That's your clean message, especially if it's in both of those those segments, right? So one way to get your clean messaging is to actually talk to the people you've interacted with and ask them, whether you ask them specifically for feedback or if you just ponder with them how things went, your clients will tell you exactly what that message is. And if it's the message you want, that's great. And if it isn't the message you want, that's great too, because then you can start working on changing that as well. I'll put that in the chat. But that's another way to get back to your construct of how do I get a clean message out there for both segments. And then I will say, does anyone have a last question for Jen before we go to the last question? Going once? Melinda? You're muted.
I just wanted to bring up SHRM, and I put it into the chat. It's the Association for Association People and HR, and they have very active chapters around the country, which will be a good way to start the talking in the HR arena, where they are working with new people and they recruit from the military. So maybe even military recruiters might be another place to be able to find things in that same idea. But just trying to think sideways of where you want to speak everywhere. And you do. And around the big military holidays or government holidays, you might even be able to get onto some of the talk shows and the morning shows on CBS, NBC, and ABC, because you've got a hot topic, and especially in Metro DC, San Diego. I mean, pick a couple of the cities that have huge military bases and a lot of audience, and I'm sure you could probably get on the networks as well, and blogs and everything else.
Yeah, that did not cross my mind. So thanks, Melinda.
Great, Melinda, thank you. So Donnell Johns, would you please ask Jen Pasquale our final question?
Smile, it's over. You did amazing. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody. No, you did amazing. And thank you for, number one, taking this at the last minute and knocking it out of the park. I think you did absolutely phenomenal. In addition to that, I'm glad that you came today, because I have so many ideas on how we can work together to change our community in so many different ways. But the question that I need to ask you and want to ask you is, what can our 1 Million Cups community do for you other than provide you amazing feedback today?
Other than that's a lot. Like, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and it completely exceeded my expectations in terms of what you all would come to me with. So quite honestly, I don't have anything else. Answer my call when I call you, or return my email if I email you. That's it. That's all I need.
Thanks again, for taking this at the last minute. Like I said, you knocked it out the park. I want to thank our 1 Million Cups community for providing her such amazing feedback. I was in awe, with the type of feedback that you provided to Jen today. If you guys are looking, to be a part of this community, we're looking for organizers. Please talk to myself or any of our organizers, and we can help you become a part of this community. And see what we did for Jen today, we can do that for you and your organization. So become a organizer with us, or become a part of our ambassador community. Just reach out to us and do that. Next slide. So next week we have PROPA, and Pat May is here. Pat, do you want to say something to give people a sneak peek of what's coming next week?
I don't want to reveal everything because I don't have it to reveal quite yet, but we're a plant sharing app, and we're currently pre-revenue, but this quarter we're going to start generating revenue. And so I'm looking for advice on the best strategy to do that. And so I've got a couple products in the pipeline, and I'll be looking for specific recommendations.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, this week, to see how it's done. And I know you've been here several weeks in a row. So thank you for also applying to be a presenter for us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
And so here's our presenter schedule for the next coming weeks. We have, like I said, Propa. We have, Breakaway Fitness is coming back. One of our old organizers from the beginning is coming back to present to our community. That is so awesome. And then we also have your social media BFF. That sounds pretty cool. Social media and BFF at the same time. That's pretty interesting. And then May 11th through the 25th, we have openings. So if you want to be a part of this community and present, please apply now. These spaces will fill up fast. And plus we have an application process that you have to go through and a vetting process. So put your applications in now. Next slide. I already talked about this and our upcoming events. Do we have Jen online that she could talk about some of our Central Fairfax events?
Jennifer's here.
I am happy to be back with you guys. I've missed you. We've got a few things coming up, as you can see on Melinda's slide. Today, chamber member and friend of 1 Million Cups, Russ McIntosh's Fairfax Business Meetup, middle of the month, middle of the week, middle of the day, takes place at noon. I hear there will be puppies at this meeting because the Fairfax County Animal Shelter is presenting today. So that's at noon at Patriots Pub and Grill right here in the city of Fairfax. Thursday, our business after hours at Coyote Grill, we're apparently crashing their anniversary celebration. I believe they're turning 20 this year. They double booked us, go figure. They were so excited. But that is Thursday at 5 p.m. It's a little earlier because of their party. Please come network with the Central Fairfax Chamber. We'd love to have you. And then next week, Office Evolution Fairfax, not Tyson's, but Fairfax, where I'm residing, my office. They are hosting a session called Chamber of What? Where I will be talking to the group about what exactly a Chamber of Commerce is and how it can help a business. And there'll be a happy hour after that. You guys are welcome to attend that. There's no charge. I will drop some links in the chat for those events. And then at the end of the month, our women's committee has a great program, Bloom into Your Best Self. We're going to talk about Pilates and yoga and meditation and taking care of yourself, ladies.
Thank you. That was awesome. I want to thank everybody for coming here. As we know, being an entrepreneur is lonely, but you don't have to be lonely because you're a part of this 1 Million Cups community. We're glad that you come here every Wednesday on Hump Day to basically help each other.
Hey,
And
Donna,
yes.
to help each other, can I ask, does anyone else have events that they want to talk about? Because I think Leslie and Reggie also had events.
Yes. So real quick, I have a workshop on Friday as part of our monthly Lunch and Lab series, and it's on protecting your brand. So I have Phyllis Simon, who comes here a lot, as well as another attorney, to just talk about different aspects of copyrights, trademarks, and patents, anything that you need to protect your intellectual property. From 12 to 1, I put the info in the chat. So I just want to let people know that.
Hi, and then I wanted to jump back on while Liam's occupied. I am running my first Nom for Mom photo shoot giveaway. You all helped me come up with the idea during my presentation a few weeks back, and I'm running with it. So the deadline to apply is April 30th at midnight. All you need to do is hop on, fill out a short form, tell us about your favorite mom or your mother figure. Could be a grandma, an aunt, whoever raised you, whoever made an impact in your life and who deserves to have a pampered photo shoot, find her true identity and really just feel good in her skin and maybe even just create some memories for her grandkids to find in the attic one day and go, oh, wow, that was grandma. So it'll be a fun shoot. Just so if you have any moms in your life that you want to pamper and celebrate this Mother's Day, the link is in the chat, or you can reach out to me offline. Thanks.
That sounds pretty cool. Nom for mom. I wonder where that came from. All right. 1 Million Cups is a Kaufman Foundation organization. We work with communities, entrepreneurs, and we just do a phenomenal job of supporting our community. And thank you guys for being here. Next slide. Is that it?
That's it.
That is it. This is wonderful. Thank you guys all for coming. We have like 4 minutes where we can do a little networking, and then we can jump off and get the rest of our day done. Oh yeah, let me stop us from Facebook.